morning, guys. Laura here from Hedgehog's Homestead. The thing that I wanted to talk about today was what you need on your homestead when you started out. The tools, the tractors, the things that you need. A lot of men dream about owning a tractor. And we started out on raw land, so that kind of gives you perspective. Do I recommend starting on raw land? Not necessarily. If you can have more of an established farm, that's great. But we didn't. We started out on raw land. This was old Vaco land, which is a company that would buy land and take down the hardwoods, and they planted with non-native pine trees in their place. Now, what that does to your land is that you have a non-native species that propagates, and it seeds itself year after year, and then you get diseases that aren't necessarily for this area. So we are going to slowly be cutting down a lot of the pine and using them for the property. Now this is Mabel, we like to call her, and she was a buy. She was the first thing that we purchased for our property because we were taking down trees and all the good stuff. A bush hog was the second thing we got because we needed to mow our grass. Was when we bought and moved on this land and we wanted to build a home, we needed to bush hog a road, even though there was some kind of a road or a trail developed here. And that's basically all it was. Now the tractor came with a bucket. You definitely need that bucket. And one other thing that we got for our tractor is forks. Now, if we had bought land that was partially developed, had grasses, had all these things, you didn't have to clear road, would you need a tractor? Not necessarily. So the second thing that I got started on right away was garden. And some of the tools that I swear by and what you need is a good way to water that garden. So we started off with a well, and one of the things we wish we knew, because when you look this up, how do you know where to dig your well? Well, there's underwater aqueducts, and the well people don't tell you this. You have to find this out yourself, and you look that up. And we did not find that when we were looking at YouTube, that you could go on underwater aqueducts and find things that, you go to your library or your county and ask for a map of your area where the underwater aqueducts are. And then that's the first thing you want to put on your property before you put a house, because it will determine where your well system or where good water is. Also, one of the first things before you build a house on brand new land is you have to know where your good field is for septic. We started building our house first and then had them come out for septic, and that is kind of backwards. You kind of want to know, have them come out and do a test area, and then that will also determine your water system. So because we didn't look up for an aqueduct, you can do a lot of people swear by the 2-stick system that, you've seen it. It's kind of magic, woo stuff. We didn't even do that. We're like, oh, well, it looks good over here. Well, guess what? When you do that, we have half a gallon a minute. We have very hard water. It went through limestone, and so it was destroying appliances. So those are the things we knew. Behind me, we have a whole rainwater catchment system here. This is what our house is actually being fed off of. Because we only have half a gallon a minute, that kind of destroyed our watering. I would water the garden after we did our morning chores in the house, showered and all of that, and we'd be out of water. And we wouldn't have water until the next for like 5 hours. And so we had to build a rainwater catchment system if we wanted animals on the homestead. So know how good the water is on your property before you buy a property. And it seems like a lot of the wells in this area are really low like that. So another thing is that we want to build a fence around our whole perimeter. So, other tools that you would need to do that are augers. And if you live in Tennessee, you might want an auger anyways. Just to plant trees on the property, fruit trees and all that kind of stuff, I needed an auger. I tried to dig trees in the ground, just dig especially when you're building or digging close to the house, and you can see, that's where we buried our beloved Astro. We had 2 trees over there. We only have 1 apple tree left. These trees came up automatically, and so we let them grow. Those are sassafras trees. Sun comes from this way, so the orchard's still going to be able to get the sunlight. We have a crepe myrtle, 2 peach trees, and an apple tree. And we had 3 more trees out here, 3 more apple trees, and they didn't make it. Why they didn't make it is because I didn't have an auger at the time. And because this ground gets really super, super hard in the summer. And so we planted those at the end of the summer when it was in a dry spell. And what happened is the roots got root bound in there. What happens if you don't aerate your soil really good and the roots don't got room to move, they just kind of wrap around each other. And that's what happened to those apple trees. So they just choked each other out. So make sure that you got a nice deep hole. And here in Tennessee, we have to put our trees in and stuff like that a little higher above the ground. And I learned that on the late side. Now, another thing, know where your water is going to be running. When you start building in natural roads, you'll start to know. Like right now, that's what we're working on. Right now, you'll see we have totes everywhere because we don't have water or hoses from our well. That is way back there because we don't water from the house. We save the water from the well for our plants in the garden. That's what we use our water from the well now for. And so we have totes everywhere. And once we establish where we're going to have our animals and stuff like that, we'll start running underground some PVC pipe for water. Not the white kind that you see in people's houses, but it's a black PVC pipe that you run underground. And so when we know where we're going to put our animals, our permanent structures, permanent paddocks, that kind of thing, put that pipe down and have, sections where we know, okay, we need water here for sure. It runs down to here. And so we'll do that later. We are going to do permanent fencing around our property, around the whole exterior and through the trees, so the cattle and the animals have shade that they can go into. That we are working with has that idea and gave that idea to us. Now we can run electric wire in between the fencing. The tools that I would recommend, let's do this. I would recommend a tractor. A lot of people tell you don't. Okay, I would recommend a tractor if you're working with raw land. If you're buying an established homestead, you could probably do it without a tractor. Unless you have to develop your own fencing. I would recommend a tractor for developing your own fencing. So we're on raw land, and so we have a lot that we're developing here, and it's very costly. So having your own tractor, we also need the tractor for moving around water totes. So the forks on the tractor are great for that. Now augers for fencing again, for digging holes for in the ground for trees and stuff like that. Here's an auger that is my brother-in-law's, but we might use that as well. Things that I wish we didn't buy. I wish we didn't till up our land at all. I wish we would have brought animals earlier. We could have saved a lot of money. Weed whackers. I have two kinds here. I have battery electric. Those are the ones I get around the house where I keep it nice and clean. But for the big daddy stuff, I have this gas steel weed whacker. If you get just this big one, you don't need the little ones. So I would recommend a good weed whacker for the homestead. As we are older, we are gonna get an electric T-post driver because Chris and I both have bad backs. So that's one of the things that we recommended. We have a regular push mower. I need that for areas because I have my dogs fenced in the front yard. So I need that push mower. Otherwise, and I don't think I needed this right away. If you have an established homestead, you need this right away. If you don't have an established homestead, you could probably do most of your yard with a bush hog. Zero turn mower, I recommend. That is something that you will need. If you're establishing a homestead, a raw homestead, you don't need that right away. But now that we are kind of, we're getting good grasses in around our house and stuff like that, now we need that. So that's something we didn't need right away, but as soon as you're getting trees that you want to work around, the bush hog is not going to do it anymore. You're going to have either a tiny little lawnmower, which I did for the first couple years. I mowed all this whole section and around my garden and all of that with a tiny little lawnmower. I did not have the big electric. I only had a small weed whacker, and that was me because I was intimidated to have a gas weed whacker because us ladies don't like to pull toggles. And now I've discovered that we have some big weeds here when it rains big, and so we really need those weed whackers, and they get like stems on them this big. So having a weed whacker that can cut through that kind of stuff. A bush hog, no matter what homestead you have, or you're going to have to hire somebody at $70 or up to bush hog your property every once in a while. And that's just to keep things tame. We love our tractor. We don't regret getting it. Starting your garden right away. So you're probably going to need some compost. So start that compost right away too. And so those are the tools you need. If you're starting off, I would recommend a tractor. I would recommend a little lawnmower where you can just get something that can really chop. Maybe even a little tiller weed whacker, kind of even those push weed whackers, those would be great. And later on a good lawnmower. But so make sure you establish that water. Where are you going to put things? We're still working on that, and we wish we had done that. Like where we were going to put our barn, where we were going to put this, where we were going to put that. You want your barn within 100 feet of your home, 50 to 100 feet. You want your garden. My garden's 25 feet away. That's a good place to have a garden. We're going to build it all around us. Easy access to the things that you go to every day. So, like the fruit trees, they really don't need to be in my front yard. We could put a garden in my front yard. But we put the fruit trees there because we wanted to look at pretty trees that have flowers. But so stuff that you visit every day or that you will need in seasons to visit every day, put them close to your house. Everything else further out. Think about the job that you want to do and the tools that you need each time. And that's what we've done over the time is that we came here and we just thought about the tools that we needed for each task, and we bought those tools at the time we were doing those tasks. We have fencing coming up here. I've driven a lot of fence posts, or those T-posts with that T-post driver. Works great when we've had some rain, but here in Tennessee, when the ground is hard, it is really hard to work with. It takes me probably 20 minutes to pound in a T-post with that T-post driver. I am a woman. My husband's a little bit faster, but not much faster. He doesn't do it. He hasn't done a T-post in a long time because he can't anymore. So I've been doing them all, and it takes me about 20 minutes to drive a T-post. So that's why we want the T-post driver. So anyways, that is all I have for you guys today. God bless you, and we'll see you guys next time here on Hedgehog's Homestead.